Okay, real quick, I just want to show you what it means when it says the first will be the last and the last will be the first. So that's grandparents. I have them just abbreviated as GP. So we have grandparents, parents, kids, grandkids. Grandparents are the master because they've raised their parents, watched their children raise their children, and then the grandparents are now the mastery of that lesson. So anyway, so you got your grandparents as the master, parents as the teacher, the kids as the student, grandkids as the lesson. So the master descended into two parts, teacher and student. That was the energies, feminine and masculine. Immature, so still a student, but trying to outdo the teacher. So then, boom, where are we going with this? Okay, so the student and the teacher disagreement, boom, boom, boom. So they created a lesson. So that's how that goes. A lesson to be learned from. And then you think about like the order of life, and that's what I'm trying to explain too. So the grandparents, so if you're a grandparent and you have a grandchild, that's your grandparent. Believe it or not, that's your grandparent. And the same thing, and then like going back to the missing piece of pie is what I'm getting to, that the grandkids, they equal 3.14. That's pi. That was the E taken out of the I and the P. Out of yip. Huh. But no. So that was taken out of that. And I got that just by looking at these three aspects. So that's why I wrote down the number 3, because 1 became 3. And then after 3, after the master, teacher, and students sat down in agreement, they ended the sentence. A period is just an end. That's what I'm learning now. Boom. So then you got 3, the end, and then where did I get my numberings from? Oh, entry and re-entry, and then added these up. Boom, 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 boom. But equals 9 plus 5. The 9 for R, 5 for E. You add those up and equals 14. 1 plus 4 equals 5. So I had just wrote 5 down right here. And then I was just like, boom, great grandkids, great grandkids, great, great, great. But that's the missing piece of the pie. How else can you break a grandparent spirit? You either do something to their child or their grandkid. But it was, in this case, in this story, Jesus was the grandchild who came down. So Jesus was the master. So that's how he was the student, teacher, and the master, because he was the grandchild of the source. And I really hope this makes sense. So he would say, my father, he was talking about his parents, the teachers. Oh, my father in heaven, my father gave me strength. Of course, your parents give you life. You get half of yourself from your parents, but then you don't look back to see that you have stuff from your ancestors too to carry forward to the next generation too. And I really hope that makes sense. But then the master trains the teacher, the teacher trains the student, and then the student absorbs it all and then passes on the lesson. That's the way that life is supposed to go. Master trains the teacher, teacher trains the student absorb it all, and then the student passes on. Remember I told you about the kidney stone in Sodom and Gomorrah. The student didn't want to pass on a lesson. They shared the crown. It was an even space. They shared the crown, but the student didn't want to pass on the lesson to the grandchild, so it stole his power and came down to the earth and descended, or the brainstem broke away from the cerebellum, and they created these planes now, and they gave us an axis on a graph. But then it realized it messed up, so now it's got to do the other side of the equation now, trying to figure out a way to get back to the source without admitting its faults, that it was wrong, because, as you know, the root chakra, shame. But then I just got down to like all of this is just really saying like the brain processing life and death. And then the student didn't understand the difference between life and death was rebirth. So it put death in reverse and then put life in reverse. but it just pretty much did what it was going to do anyways. And that's why it's like, oh, you didn't know my plan, but you ran with it thinking you knew everything, but you knew nothing. You knew a little piece. You only knew half of the truth, but you didn't see the whole story, that life and death is rebirth. But because you stole your grandchild's power and you brought it down here and you did what you did, and you created all these anomalies, but then you didn't love not one of these anomalies. You just wanted the power from them, the source, the energy source that you got from them from leaving home. And I really hope this makes sense.